Mike would be good. Hello, I'm Matt. Welcome back to day 3 of the National Game Design Month Challenge here on Three Skulls Tavern. I'm creating this game about basically fantasy or medieval mice. Which I'm calling Project Moisien right now, but I'm probably going to be changing the name. So this is day 3. I've got some structure in place. I've talked about some things. I have been thinking about it a little bit in between yesterday's session and today's. So there are some things I want to address first with what things I've already done. First one really is about the whole dragon angle, and I've really been trying to figure out exactly what that means. And I think for now I'm going to be taking it out. I think I'm going to be focusing more on the mice as standard adventurers, basically. And I think dragons can come in at a later stage. I think there could be some cool adventures around finding dragons and recruiting them to the mice, the mouse cause, so to speak. And really, this came about where I was thinking about handling them as dragons and handling them as creatures which have these magical powers, like being able to breathe fire or freeze things, or the various different things that theoretically the dragons could do, tapping into things like the Dragon Masters book series, or the How to Train Your Dragon books and TV series and films, etc., where these dragons all can do slightly different things. And I think that would be a really cool idea for kids. I think kids would really enjoy that. But I'm adding a layer of complexity over the whole thing by doing that. And this is what I was kind of mulling through my head, is how am I going to implement this without making it completely over the top, without making it adding rules for mounts, basically, and really just adding a level of complexity which I didn't necessarily want to have to start off with, bearing in mind that this game needs to be playable for kids from sort of 4+. And that what I decided on was I want to keep the dragons as an option to do, maybe later to do like a little expansion where you can have like dragon riding mice, and you could even have that as the entire thing where you're starting off as like all of your mice when you start have a dragon, and you create those dragons. And what I'm saying, I'm using the term dragon very loosely, by the way. It would be probably a wingless lizard, effectively like a mount. So yeah, I'm taking that level of complexity out. I think you could do it in a very lightweight manner. It's just that I think if kids would have a dragon, it should be epic and not just a mount, and it be kind of a little bit of flavor or a little bit of narrative sort of stuff. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm going to take it out. I might, if I got a nice way of adding it back in later, I might be able to do that too. But for now, I'm going to be taking it out. So the focus is very much going to be back on these mice. The rest of the core. In fact, I'm going to go back to my big 3. What's your game about? It's not about dragon riding mice anymore. It's just going to be about mice. Brave mice, keeping the lands and routes between settlements safe. Yeah. So there's every reference of dragons. So the mice explore new routes, meet other travelers, problem solve extreme weather events, and fight monsters. Still all relevant. And the monsters, by the way, are large animals. What do the players do? Players control one mouse. Players control one mouse, as in a typical tabletop role-playing game. Yeah. Okay. So I've also thought about adding a fifth track to this. This is kind of, there's something that happens with, yeah, it's tied to bravery as well. And the idea here is that there's something in Mouse Guard which I think is really great, called nature. And it's the idea is that guards mice, so the Mouse Guard, the mice that make up the Mouse Guard, are acting against their nature, because the nature of a mouse is to be meek, to be a prey animal, to run and hide, and to survive, to stay alive. And the Mouse Guard don't do that. They go out, they are seeking exactly what I've got here. They're seeking to keep the routes between settlements clear and safe, They're delivering post between settlements. Basically, all the similar sort of stuff that the mice in this game are going to be doing. And therefore, there's kind of this issue where how do you model that in the game? And it has this, that these mice are acting against their nature, and there's an actual trait in Mouse Guard called nature. And as certain things can happen in the game, your nature increases, and if it gets to a certain point, then your mouse no longer is a brave mouse. It becomes like a meek mouse. So if you're not careful, if you're not able to steel yourself against the kind of the scary things that you're up against, the scary things that you face, the mental toll is that you become withdrawn on yourself and become a mouse which no longer wants to go out into the world. You're too scared, and you just become a normal a normal mouse, and no longer this kind of brave like hero mouse. So the way I thought of handling this, there are a couple of ways. I could add a trait in called something like nature. But the other way I want to handle it is we've got these two trauma tracks, health and bravery, right? Where characters can't die, and I don't want to add too much. I don't really want to add too much to this, but I did think that this would be a great place to have something like the scar track from Things from the Flood. And the way that works is every time you get broken, every time, in this case, let's say your bravery goes down to 0, you have to make a roll. And the roll would basically be against your nature. And you would track how many times you get broken. And in fact, this is exactly what I have in Year Zero Mini. So if I open the Year Zero Mini character sheet, I can show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So give me 1 second. Year Zero Mini sheets. So here we are. If you see the bottom here, in Year Zero Mini, as you take trauma, you take harm, 1, 2, and 3 harm. And then when you're broken, you tick that you get a scar, or if you're broken by stress, you take a disorder. And every time you tick one of those, every time you get a new one, you roll. In Year Zero Mini, you roll 2 dice, and you get rid of the highest. And the remaining dice, if you roll equal to or lower than your current number of scars or disorders, then you're either dead from scars, or you are basically your mind breaks from your disorders, and basically your character becomes unplayable. So I'm thinking of a similar concept for bravery, where when your bravery breaks, which is your kind of your stress tracker, your nature goes up, and you have like a nature track. And every time you take a point in nature, you have to roll a single dice. And if the single dice comes up where it's equal to or lower than that value, then you can't take it anymore. And I think that's a really simple, elegant mechanic. It's just that I think it's going to be a little bit hard to grasp for younger kids. So I'm going to put it in as an optional rule, but it's something I really like. And this is going to go along with the scars. I'm going to keep scars in there as well. So what I'm talking about here about options to add a complexity for older players, we're going to talk about, I'm putting equipment in anyway, so we're going to talk about health. Well, we're going to put in here trauma, the whole thing just to say trauma. Trauma is going to be we're going to call it permanent trauma. And this would be scars and nature. So your mouse gets more and more scarred as they fight, and there's a chance that as they take enough scars, or they get broken one too many times, that they will die. That's permanent trauma, stroke, death. Okay, so that's one level of complexity I'm going to be adding as an option. And for young kids, I think it's fine to have that as an option. For young kids, their mouse won't be at risk of no longer being heroic. They'll just be heroic all the time. And that's fine as well, because I think for younger kids, they don't need that level of complexity. They want to keep it relatively simple. So one of the things I've been thinking about when I've been coming up with all this is, and the point of today's video is all about keeping it simple. This is the K.I.S.S principle. K.I.S.S stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. And the idea is that when you are creating something, whether that is if you work in, say, like an engineering firm, which is where I used to work in the engineering field, as you're creating designs, as you're creating, really, you can use it for any time you're creating anything. The idea is that there's something called feature creep, or there's other names for it, but I'm gonna refer to it as feature creep, and that basically means there's a chance that things will creep into your design. New features will creep in and expand your original vision to something that is much more complex, quite different from what it originally was. And that's a big risk for, engineering projects that are on a tight schedule. Often is that at the design phase, when you have a very, you have a I can't remember the term now, bloody hell. You have like a brief, you have a specification from your client or from whoever that this is the way you're going to be doing things. You want to build a car, and the car needs to be this, it needs to do these things, and you have like a list of specifications that need to be ticked. And it's as you go into that and you think, well, actually, we could add this cool thing on top of it. Yeah, let's do that. And then when you're in the design phase, it's very easy to just add a bunch of features in that weren't originally asked for. And then it basically adds a design burden, like when you're implementing the design and you're actually building something, that you have to spend extra time, extra money, extra resources to make that thing. So it can be quite a dangerous thing to a project from a project management perspective, even though you might be ending up with a better, a theoretically better product, although possibly more expensive as well. So anyway, that's what this means. And from a writing perspective, it means I have this concept where I want to make this very lightweight game designed for kids, but playable by adults as well. And what I don't want it to start kind of expanding beyond its initial boundaries. And that's always a challenge for me, because I always come up with these new ideas. As you've seen already, every video I've changed something kind of central to the core of the game. Today I've changed that there are no dragons in the game. I've also today just decided that I'm going to try and include a nature mechanic to the game, which again will be optional, but still I need to spend some time to flesh that out as an optional rule. So what I need to do is I need to really think about this, keep it simple, this K.I.S.S principle, this keeping things simple, and how I need to implement that in the game. At least implement it here in my kind of work in progress manuscript here. So how do we do that? Well, the way we do it is we start actually writing with that in mind, or I can put in here at the start of every header, I can just stick in literally, keep it simple, stupid, right? I can highlight it in a color other than yellow, like let's go with green. And there we can see at the start of every header, I'm telling myself, do not forget to keep it simple. Don't allow myself to expand the scope beyond what I originally wanted. Or, if I haven't thought about some certain elements, like the beasts, for example, keep it simple. Don't add complexity. Yeah, and that way here on the left, by putting it in the headers on the left here, I can also see the K.I.S.S. Like anywhere I'm at, I'm going to be able to see that K.I.S.S thing. So it's going to be a constant reminder to keep it simple. I'm going to put it here as well on the content. So it's literally at every level 1 header, I've got this K.I.S.S thing coming up. And when I want to take it out, I can just do a Control F, find in document. I can go here to find with and replace with, and I can just go with this basically, and I'm going to replace all. And look, they're all gone. All of them are gone, like that easy. So it's easy, very, very easy to take them out when I'm done, right? I'm going to undo. They all come back. Okay, so that's easy. That's an easy way of putting a check-in to make sure I don't forget about certain things. But I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to start thinking about how I implement that within the actual text of the game. And really, I want to start writing some stuff down, because this is where we talk about like how does the dice mechanic work? How is all this stuff going to work together? Where I've been coming up with ideas, again, in the last 24 hours about how I want to implement the dice rolling specifically. Because one of the big design goals here is that this is going to be a GM-less game, so it's going to be co-op. And I've been looking at some other games. I've been reading some other games recently, and some of them have similar mechanics that I actually would work really well here. And one mechanic I'm kind of taken with at the moment is from a game called Neon City Overdrive, which is a cyberpunk game, pretty lightweight. And basically, the mechanic in that is, if you've heard of Blades in the Dark, it's kind of like a stripped back, lightweight Blades in the Dark kind of system in terms of the dice. And the way it works is you have good dice. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to call it good dice and bad dice, right? And the good dice are your dice pool for when you're rolling. And you always start with one good dice. And you add an extra dice to your pool for every relevant tag in your character that makes sense. So it could be like you have what are called edges. You have what are called, I think they're called characteristics or something like that. So like character concepts, that sort of thing. So you could be like a gutter rat, for example. And if a gutter rat makes sense in what you're trying to do, you could add a dice for that. If you have an edge which says escape, as like a skill almost, you add another dice. If you have something if there's a tag, so again looking at fate, and fate has aspects on the in the world. Similarly, there are tags in the world, and so if there's a tag with something like it's foggy or it's nighttime or something like that, or like lots of shadows, and you're trying to sneak around, then you could add another one. Because say, well, there's this tag that it's shadowy, and I'm trying to sneak around in the dark, so I get another dice for that. So you're kind of like invoking a setting aspect, etc. If you have the right gear, you add another dice for the gear. And basically, you add one dice for everything that you can get until you have a pool of good dice, of white dice, I'm going to use in this case. And the red dice are going to be the bad dice. And then the red dice are for things that are difficulties. So let's say you've taken some trauma. You've taken some damage before. For every point of trauma, I think, you add one. So let's say you got into a fight earlier and you've taken 2 trauma. So you add 2 of these to your dice pool. Then let's say you have a condition like you haven't slept in 2 days, so you're sleepy. You add another one. There's 3. Then there's another aspect to do with the setting which can come into play. For example, alert guards. You would add another one. So even though it's shadowy, there are guards who are on their alert, so you add another one. And things like that. So it could be that you're rolling a dice pool of 4 good dice versus 4 bad dice. And you roll them all together, and you look at the pool of these 2 dice, and you look for matches between the good and the bad, and you remove them. Simple as that. So when I've rolled here, I've got I can't really show you, but I've only got I've got 2 dice that match between the good and the bad, and that's a 1 and a 3. So those 1s and those 3s, I take them out. So I take out the 2 good. I take out the 1 and the 3 from both the good and the bad dice. And I'm left with 2 dice left over. And all that you do then is you then ignore the bad dice, and you just look at the good dice that are left on the table. And in this case, I had a 5 and a 3. I think I had another 3. A 5 and a 3, right? And it's basically what's your highest dice in the pool. So my highest dice is a 5. And that's where the Blades in the Dark comes from, where you basically, if you have a 6 or higher, or if you have a 6, then you succeed, full success. If you have more than 1 6, you have like a critical success. If you have a 4 or a 5, you have a partial success, so like a success with a complication. And then if you have a 3 or lower, 3 or lower is a failure with a complication. And if the other thing it says is, if all of your good dice are canceled out, or you only have 1s left on your good dice, it's a botch. So like a critical failure. And I really, really like that. I love that mechanic, in fact, so much that I'm going to be using it here because it slides very neatly into the year zero engine, I think. It also allows you to roll without a GM, but if you are playing with a GM, the GM can roll those bad dice as an opposed roll every time a roll is happening, and they just cancel each other out. Or without a GM, you just add those bad dice to your pool, and you roll them yourself and cancel themselves out yourself. So it's a nice way of being able to play with or without a GM, and the GM can roll, or they don't have to roll. And it's very, very easy to do. So some tweaks to it then, because the building the dice pool in that system is a little bit complicated. I think I don't want to have that many character traits. I don't want to be tracking things like tags in the environment, that sort of thing. I will be calling out Neon City Overdrive in the rules as an inspiration. So if people want to add that complexity to their game, they absolutely can. Where they just add things like tags to their character. You can add setting tags. It's a very simple thing to just modularly add in. In fact, I could even add that here in the options to add for older players. We can talk about tags for increasing dice pools. I'll put in here Neon City Overdrive. Okay. But I'm probably not going to do that up front. But the idea here is that you have... So I've been thinking about the sizes of dice pools and how I want that to go. And what I've been thinking is that the dice pools should be something like... I'm going to specify how big the dice pools are. So if I go down here to your mouse, stats... we're going to start writing the game. Your mouse is made up of... Right, I need to remember to think about this in terms of a young kid reading this who's just being able to start to read, potentially. We use stats to look at how good your mouse is at different things. Strong. This is how strong your mouse is. Or we can put it as a question. How strong is your mouse? Or how big and strong? Because I want strong to also be kind of a measure of size. Look at each of the stats below and choose which one you're best at and which one you're worst at. Strong. How big and strong is your mouse? Fast. How quick and speedy is your mouse? Not speedy. How quick and... what's another word for agile? That's good for a child. How quick is your mouse? Or how quickly can your mouse move? How quickly can your mouse move? Clever. How smart is your mouse? Friendly. How good is your mouse at making friends? For the stat which you're best at, write a 5 next to it on your sheet. For the stat you're worst at, write a 3 next to it. For the other two stats, write a 4 on your sheet. Write a 4 next to the other two stats on your sheet. Okay, so straight away I'm talking about, yeah, I'm putting values down, and these are going to need to be play tested, of course. But we're talking about dice pools of 5 to 3, or 3 to 5, I guess, depending on how you look at it, for your core stats. Let me get rid of the dragon thing. And the look and the power, because those are all to do with the dragon. Stats. Then we talk about, now look at your, I'm not going to actually, we're not going to do that. You're not going to come up with your own trauma values. They're going to be set like in Tales from the Loop. So you're going to have three conditions for, actually, I'm talking about more like Vazen and like Year Zero Mini. So like those two games, you're going to have 3 harm and 3 stress, right? Yeah, I think that's good. So you have like 3 hearts, kind of. But in this one, I think I'm actually not even going to have stress. I think to make it super simple, so this keep it simple, stupid thing, we're gonna be adding in here that 1 trauma track, health. We're changing it. So we're not going to actually track. We're not going to track bravery. We're just going to, yeah, we're just going to have health. So health is going to be 3. And we're going to put that in here. Health, which is at 3 for each mouse. I mean, theoretically, you could have as the other thing to play this is you could look at strong and say you have a number of you have a number of hearts, you have a number of health equal to your strong, and that way, if someone's chosen a big strong mouse, then they're going to have more health. But they're also not going to be as quick. For example, if you have a small mouse who's not very strong, you're going to have less health. So it's going to be easier for you to be taken out. I kind of like that. But again, keep it simple. I think we're going to put that in as an option here. So we're going to add in here, add bravery as a trauma track. Add change trauma values to be equal to strong / clever. So the cleverer you are, the braver you are. That's not necessarily true. I like the friendly coming to that as well, but again, I don't want to add too much complexity here. I might just ignore this because I think games like Vazen and Tales from the Loop, they don't have any, like, they all have three trauma tracks and it doesn't change, and I think that's fine. They're more complex than this is going to be, and I don't think I need to have that level of complexity. Year Zero Mini doesn't have that either, and I'm perfectly happy with that, just having the 3. Pitchfork, the other game I'm working on, has more complexity, but it's a completely different mechanic, which I'm also okay with. So we're going to keep it like that. So your mouse also has a stat called health. And you have 3. And all mice have 3. All mice have 3 health. Cool. I think it's pretty straightforward. So let's talk about rolling dice here. Types of dice. I'm not gonna. Here's the other thing. I'm getting rid of the wild dice because one of the things with the dice is I was going to be talking about using them for D66 tables. This is something that Neon City Overdrive also does. They have exactly the thing I was talking about. They have this graphic where you show the pluses and the minuses. So plus dice is what I'm calling here a good dice. The minus is a bad dice. And they're showing the number of pips on them so like when you want to roll for a D66 table, you roll one of each, and because they're different colors, the table actually shows you what the result means based on the color of the dice that are coming up. So I really like that, and that's kind of what I was planning to use. One big thing I was planning to use the wild dice for, but by using these good and bad dice, I can kind of skip that completely. And the wild dice is not keeping it simple. So the wild die I'm going to get rid of. But instead I'm going to be saying here, use good and bad dice for all rolls. And I'm putting here NCO, Neon City Overdrive. And I'm just going to put down here before I forget as well, where I've got this to-do list, I'm also going to put in here inspirations. Because I want to keep track of these. And we're going to say, straight away, we're going to talk about Mouse Guard. We're going to be talking about Mouse Ritter. We're going to be talking about Neon City Overdrive. Also, we're going to talk about Tales from the Loop. Mouse Guard, Mouse Ritter, Neon City Overdrive. And I think that's it for now that are kind of affecting things. Mouse Ritter isn't having a huge amount to influence right now, except from a kind of thematic point of view. Also, it has lots of tables, which I'm also quite keen on having as well. Ironsworn is going to be a big one as well. So we're going to put that up here at the top. Because, in fact, I'm going to put it like this. I'm going to put Mouse Guard and Mouse Ritter at the bottom, because these are the three that are going to be having the biggest. These three are going to be having the biggest mechanical impact on the game. The other two are more from a from like a tonal perspective. I'm going to put here Red Wall as well. Cool. So there's the inspirations. Right. So that's my entire stats section. It's nice and small. Concept. Before doing anything else, let's change that and say the first thing to think about when making your mouse is what kind of mouse they are. You can come up with anything you want. You can come up with any idea you want, but you can also roll a die to help you decide. But you can also roll a die to help you decide. Roll the die and look at the table below. And look at the options below. So, we're going to have I'm trying to think of 6 typical kind of, this is going to be like classes, right? And I want this to be really lightweight. I want this to be really simple and really easy for kids to understand as well. So we're going to be going with a okay. I'm going to change the order around, but we're going to come up with a warrior mouse. We're going to come up with a wizard mouse. We're going to come up with a thief mouse. We're going to come up with an archer mouse. We're going to call it ranger for now. We'll change the name of that. We're going to come up with a you know what we're going to come up with? We're going to come up with a rider mouse. And the rider can actually start with a dragon, so a non-magical beast that they can ride on. Yeah. And the other one I'm thinking about is like a cleric, because tapping into the Redwall themes, there's a lot to do with mysticism and religion and that sort of thing. But I don't know how much of that rabbit hole I want to go down in. And in fact, that's one where you can just basically make it up. I'm kind of saying here are the concepts. You can roll for it. You can kind of create your own. And the idea is that if you create your own, you just come up with something from Redwall that you like. I don't actually want to spend a lot of time thinking about, that sort of thing. So we've got a warrior, a wizard, a thief, a ranger, a rider. You know what? Let's look at something like Hero Kids. And what does Hero Kids have? I don't think they actually even call them. What sort of hero? A melee fighter, an archer, a knife thrower, a warrior, a well-armored warrior, a melee fighter, a powerful warlock, or even a versatile hero who can use multiple attacks. Okay. So maybe that versatile one is interesting to think about, and we can call that like an adventurer. So kind of good at everything, right? And the adventurer, and we can even have stats for these. So this could be, for example, this could be strong, obviously strong 5, fast, strong 5, fast 4, clever 3, friendly 4, wizard. In fact, we could just say what's the thing that they're best at. So we can say here, strong. The wizard is best at clever. The thief is best at fast. The ranger is good at fast, maybe. The rider is good at friendly. And the adventurer is also good at friendly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with that, I think. And what we can say here is each What kind of mouse are you? A strong warrior. A clever wizard. A fast thief. A clever ranger. A friendly rider. A friendly adventurer. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually adding the descriptor into the concept, right? So the key stat. And I might make these alphabetical, just so that there's no thinking about like what the result on the dice means necessarily. Like that. Once you know once you know what kind of mouse you are, think about, look at the stats. Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. I wonder if to make this a bit more interesting, we could change it from things like adventure to like pirate, a pirate mouse. We'll put it here. Some other ideas you could use are pirate, princess, cleric. These aren't going to be words that they're necessarily going to understand, but if you've played a role-playing game before, you'll kind of, I think for like, yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. So pirate, a princess, a cleric, could be thinking of what my son likes: a ninja, a pirate, a princess. Remember, you can come up with your own. Remember that you can come up with your own. Some other ideas you could use are cleric, ninja, pirate, princess. You could use our cleric, ninja, pirate, or princess. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. I don't think I need to mention this, the stat thing. It's just making it a little bit more confusing. I want to keep it simple. We're just talking about these 4 stats. Everyone has 4. I don't want to call health a stat because it's not really the same thing. You're not rolling on a stat. And if I'm using the term stat later on, I want the stat to basically just be very, very clear. It's one of these 4 things: strong, fast, clever, and friendly. How big and mighty. I'm trying to use different words here rather than repeating them. Yeah, so this is very loose, very open-ended. You can be any of these you want. You could play a warrior who is not very strong. They're a warrior, but they're faster than anything else. So the idea is that you just kind of have this concept. We're going to call this a concept. I'm just trying to think if there's another word for it. I don't want to use the word class. Call it a job. Profession is a good word. Let's look at what some simple words for this are. I mean, role could work. What's your role? We could go with job. Job kind of works. What's your job? Get rid of the Germanisms. I should probably, under inspirations, I should probably also talk about Hero Kids, because I'm looking at that quite a bit. Not that I'm using anything from it really, but I'm kind of looking at some of the... I'm using it for some inspiration, so it should be listed. What else am I looking at, by the way? In fact, I'm going to put here U0 Mini, too, just to toot my own horn. No, thank you. Evil, I'm not really looking at that. I actually don't really like the game very much, even though I was a Kickstarter backer. But anyway. Okay. Your mouse has one thing which is special to them. What one thing does your mouse have which is special to them You can come up with any idea you want, but you can also roll a die to help you decide. So I'm doing the same wording from before. One is going to be... In fact, this is something I've been thinking about, is the equipment. And I don't know if I want to have an asset. So I think I might add this as an optional thing. For keeping it simple, I don't think that really makes much of a difference here. Add an asset to give +2. So we're going to get rid of an asset. So literally your mouse is made up of your job and your stats. Now here's another thing, is just to also keep it simple. What we could do is we could actually have it class-based. I hate class-based games, but using them in the same way that the Year Zero engine uses classes, to use the term classes very loosely, as a starting point for a character. So you pick one, and they start with a certain package of things, and that's it. And then I can put in all sorts of stuff. I can put in an adventurer. I can just have these where here are the various options. You pick one. You don't even have to roll dice. In fact, I can take the dice out of it completely and just say, here are the various ones available. I could actually leave it as a. Let me just think about this very quickly. Yeah, maybe I have it as a package here where I'm basically saying, here are a number of classes. They come with certain types of equipment, certain... so looking at Hero Kids again, Hero Kids does this very much. Hero Kids has, for creating them, it says you can make up your own hero card using a blank card like this, or you can just pick one. And when you pick one, this is what they look like. So you have like two warriors, a boy and a girl warrior. They have set stats here, as you can see. They have set abilities, so they have a melee attack, a special action, and a bonus ability. And then they have certain inventory and skills too. So the skills, I guess, on this one is, she's good at talking, he's good at tracking things. Then you have here a hunter, and the two different hunters, they're good at ranged attacking, and they've got one in defense. They've got their own skills again. This one's got an arrow shot. She's got a hair whip strike, so she's kind of like Rapunzel from Tangled, I guess. In fact, bonus ability Tangled. Yep, there you go. So clearly, the inspiration behind that one. Again, they've got these different skills, and I wonder if skills are actually called off here. Kind of interesting to see skills there. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of looking at Hero Kids. The idea behind Hero Kids is that they have these pre-packaged classes, but it also gives you the option to create your own. And that's kind of a good idea, I think, because it should be easy enough that you can create your own, whatever you want. They've got this brute, they've got the rogue, they've got the healer. Oh, healer's a good one. Yeah, instead of a rider, because I think I want everyone to be a rider. So we're going to call this a healer instead. So Ranger goes here. Whoops. And healer goes here. Warrior, thief, ranger, healer, adventurer. See, the adventurer is just kind of a... I like this, you know, writing, picking the things that you're best at, picking the things you're worst at, and I want that. I don't want that to be specified with these sort of these jobs. So look at the options below, and either pick one or roll a die to help you decide. You can also come up with your own. If you do, you need to think, you need to do this, think up a name for your job, in brackets, pirate, cleric, pirate, princess, etc. Like a cleric, pirate, or princess. And then choose two things. And then choose two things to add to your stuff. One should be a weapon. How to put an M dash in? How do you insert an M dash? Punctuation, there we go. EN dash? There's an M dash. All right. The first one has to be a weapon. You can also come up with your own. To do this, think up a name for your job, like a cleric, pirate, or princess. Like cleric, pirate, or princess. And then choose two things to add to your stuff. The first one has to be a weapon. All right. All right, all right, all right. We're gonna jump straight into your stuff. So we're not gonna do money, I said already. So we're gonna keep this as under options. Money. Each mouse starts with one weapon. Which weapon which weapon you start with depends on your job. But if you really want something else, that's okay too. Just choose that, just choose whichever weapon you like best. I like the idea of having a skill. I have to admit. This is where the keep it simple principle is kind of like, you know, do I want to have a job, or do I want to have it classless? You're a mouse, you're an adventuring mouse. You're not an adventurer, you're not a healer, you're not a ranger, you're not a thief, whatever. You're a mouse, you're an adventuring mouse, you're a guard mouse, to use the mouse guard thing. So maybe it's less about that and more about what are the skills you're good at. And I think I might actually do that instead. Yeah. So we're gonna go here with skill. Now that you know the next thing to think about is what your mouse is really good at. About what your mouse has learned. These are called skills. There's a big list below, so pick there's a big list below, and to help you choose, we've split them, we've made them into a table so you can roll some dice to help you decide. Stats and skills. Roll 1 good die and 1 bad die. Roll twice on the options below to pick the 2 skills the 2 skills you know. To make the roll, to do this, roll 1 good die and 1 bad die. The table will show you what result you have based on what each dice says. The table, to do this, roll 1 good die, 1 bad die. Then look at the pictures below to find then look at the pictures below to find which one you rolled, which one you picked. To find out which skill you get. If you roll the same skill twice, roll again so that you always have 2 different skills. All right, how am I going to do this then? Because if I use a numbered list, I can't really do a D66 table. So I'm going to have to go with 11. Okay, cool. It's not really redoing it for me. I mean, I could try it. I could try it like this and say, we're going to restart the numbering at 11. Whoops. I'm going to go with in here, we're going to restart the numbering at 21. Perfect. All right, that's pretty easy. Restart the numbering at 31. Now, I don't think I can come up with 36 skills. I probably could. I don't know if I want to. Something I need to think about. I mean, 6 skills is too few. 36 might be too many. Maybe I could. I'm just trying to think about how I could lay this out so that there are fewer. Like I could have, I think something like maybe 3 lots of 6, like 18 could be a good number. So if you roll a 1 or a 2 on your good die, it's in one set of categories. We'll see how many I can come up with. Because they also all have to be skills that a 4-year-old will understand what they mean. And it should be possible. I'm also kind of playing around with doing these sorts of tables. So okay, so I've got my table here. I'm going to make it into 2 columns. Like that. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, that works. Yeah, I'm about to come up with a table. So I'm gonna jump into. How am I doing for time, by the way? I'm just over an hour. I'm kind of getting sucked in. I need to stop because that's where I'm at. I'm just going to cross this off so I don't forget that I didn't want to keep that. But I'm still not 100% sure on this. So, again, keeping it simple, having a list of 36 skills that you have to roll D66 for isn't necessarily the most simple way. If you have an idea about this, if you think I should be handling it one way rather than another, by all means, leave a note, leave a comment in this for this video. But really, this is where I think I'm going. I think I'm going with having some skills. I need to come up with 36 skills. Or at least 18, and I'm just going to put a little comment in here. Consider 18 skills instead of 36. Put that in italics and make it like that. Consider 12 or 18, 12/18 skills instead of 36. So the way I would do that is you roll a dice, and it's either 2 different results for one of the dice, which would give you 2 sets of 6. So your first dice would be a 1, 2, or 3 on one set of 6, and the other one would be 3, 4, 5, or 6 on the other. Otherwise, it's going to be 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 or 6 to kind of split them into various groups. So that's the easiest way to handle that. And I mean, I could even say, like, if you have a coin, flip a coin. And the coin result, if you got heads or tails, heads is on one, tails is on the other, because kids love flipping coins too. So maybe I'll go with 12 skills because that might be a bit easier. To do this, flip a coin, and roll 1 die. Then look at the pictures below to find which skill you get. If you get the same, try again. And we're going to go with 12 then. I think I can do 12 pretty easily. And I think that's enough of a variety. One thing I could do here, again, for an optional rule, is to say a D66, a full D66 table of skills. I know I can come up with 36. I've done 36 in the past for a slightly crunchier game, but again, for a kid's game, a lot of the skills aren't necessarily going to be that very clear what they mean. Yeah. I think 12 is a good number that we can come up with. 12 names, 12 words that are things that you've learned how to do. For example, fighting. Yeah. We'll come up with action words for these, and they're going to be, I'm going to put in here, use action words, which also means verbs. So you have a strong mouse rolling fighting. Give me a fighting roll. Strong fighting, fast fighting. Or do I want to do doing? Do I want to do nouns? Attack. Magic. Clever magic. So think about that. Yeah, that's me done. I'm going to stop now because I've just gone over an hour, I see, and I actually have to go to work very shortly. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments, leave them in the notes below. A link to this document if you want to have a look at it and you want to leave comments on it, you can also, do that too. And that's it for now. So thanks very much. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks. Bye.